Back-to-back 50-plus point games at home in the Super Bowl era, the Lions. We will see the result, but you're going pretty deep if you're going like this. The Lions rolling downhill. Back in studio, Joe Musso alongside Bryant McFadden. Mac, this was, I think if I could borrow a term that you used about the Lions, you called them bullies as we were watching this game. They bullied the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's a group of professionals and reportedly a coach coaching for his job in this moment. We can get to all of that, but let's start right there with the Lions. I'm not going to ask you how you stop them because there's no answer to that, but what impresses you most about this group?
The balance for their team. Yes, the quarterback, Jared Goff, he's been, applauded for his efforts, but they're so sound when it comes to being successful in so many different ways on the offensive end. You talked about the duo of backs. I mean, when you look at what David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs can do, just coexisting so nicely in the backfield, how do you prepare for them? And then when you get things rolling with the passing game, we know about St. Brown. We know what type of player he is, but now J-Mo is looking like a legit wide receiver 1 as well. Not a 2, but definitely a 1B in his big playability.
I'm glad that you frame it that way because you have 2 wide receivers that could conceivably be ones anywhere. You have 2 running backs that are ones anywhere. The lack of ego from this group, that's a credit to Dan Campbell, is it not? Like, that's a credit to the coaching staff keeping these guys focused on the task.
Usually, I always like to identify a team as resembling the identity of their coach. You know what I mean? If you have a selfless coach who's hardworking, who doesn't mind getting in from the mud, who's blue collar, 9 times out of 10, your team will resemble his same traits. And that's what he has as Dan Campbell. Instantly when he came into the building, he told all of us what he wanted his team to look like. They went and added those players who met the football DNA, and guess what? They play with the same mentality as well. So you talked about having so many legit #1 options, but there's no riff going on in the locker room. You don't have a guy who's mad if I'm not getting the opportunities of scoring the touchdowns. This is a selfless group because they have a selfless head coach, and the entire coaching staff resembles the head coach as well. So it's no surprise about their success. It's just about how dominant they can be. And like I told you while we was watching this game, the Detroit Lions is the wrong team to face off against if they're the far more superior team, because they're the best bullies in the NFL. If you get them, boy, and you don't you don't come close to matching anywhere with their talent, you're going to get bullied for 4 quarters.
Jared Goff coming off that 5 interception game. We knew that was an aberration, couple tip passes, couple miscommunications, but 5 INTs, bounces back with 400+ and 4 touchdowns, also becomes the first player in NFL history with multiple career games, 400+ passing yards, and a perfect passer rating to go along with those 4 touchdowns. Do we start having an MVP conversation? This is MVP level play.
Yeah, he's definitely in that conversation, but I still believe it's Lamar Jackson's award.
Okay.
I won't say to lose, but I would say he would be the top dog.
I won't argue with you.
As a candidate. But one thing I did say previewing this ball game, I said, unfortunately for the Jacksonville Jaguars, you're going into this game against one of the best teams in the National Football League, undermanned, not having your franchise quarterback, and you're playing against the Detroit Lions, who will probably be a little angry because, yes, they won last week against Houston. It was a struggle. The quarterback, Jared Goff, you talked about having 5 interceptions. So, yes, they won, but they wanted to come into this ball game exercising their demons that surfaced in Houston, and they did so.
Back to the Jags, because I don't know why you put a coach's job reportedly on the line, as reported by our Jonathan Jones, that if they did not win this game with Mac Jones against what many consider the best team in the NFL, the best team in the NFC, what is that organizationally? I don't know where that report comes from. Jonathan Jones obviously sourced it beautifully. Why leak that to the media, knowing what we were going to have here in this football game? Maybe we didn't know it was going to be a blowout of this proportion, but how do you do that to a guy like Doug Peterson who's just trying to get his team to win a game?
Hey, Joe, just tell us you want to fire the man without telling us you want to fire him.
Really?
Basically, to your point, you didn't have Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones. You're undermanned, and you're basically telling us if there's not a competitive performance, you're pretty much going to tell Doug Peterson he's on the outside looking in. Well, the spread was 14. It's safe to say it wasn't going to be competitive unless there was a lot of miscues by the Detroit Lions. So me personally, when you made that statement, or when you threw out that potential rumor or whatever speculation, you're kind of telling us already what's going on, what's going to happen.
Yeah, and if that gets back into the room, then you have more issues.
Yeah, did we expect to see 50-plus points scored by the Detroit Lions? No, but we expected the Detroit Lions to cover the spread.
Yeah.
It's 14 points in the National Football League. You don't see that, so you already knew what type of Lions den, no pun intended, you were walking into.
I think that was
pun intended.
Very much pun intended. There's no pun in this.
Yeah.
The Jacksonville Jaguars currently, if it ended today, on the clock with the first overall pick.
They just had the first overall pick. What,
the third time in 5 years would be the only team in the common draft era to have that. Also, you just made your quarterback the highest paid player in the history of the league, and you might be on the clock.